We were checking for the verdict. I'll still be checking for the verdict.
No one gets hurt! Go! Open the door! They'll get worse than hurt! Hey! Hey! Ah! Come on! Ah, finally! Go! Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Come on! In the back! Come on! Come on! In the back! Come on! Let's go! Come on! Get in here and deal with the guard!
Alright, we got one somebody popping back in. Hopefully, y'all come back. There was an error. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. No. As soon as I think it's safe not to have slow mode, we had a troll earlier come in. As soon as I put slow mode on, that troll that was here earlier went out. Let's see what they're saying.
Will shift the mood of the crowd. That is what remains to be seen. I want to ask you, though, a little bit more about this second-degree murder charge, because it's not premeditated, but it's intentional. Is that correct?
Right. It's not a premeditated murder. The intent you have to show is to commit a felony. So in this case, what would the felony be? It would be felony assault. So felony assault is not an accidental crime. It's not a crime that occurs as a result of negligence. And that's where the higher mens rea, the higher state of mind would come in terms of what you would have to prove. So the prosecution is not proving that, or doesn't need to prove that Officer Chauvin intended to kill. The intent would go, again, only to this element of intended to commit or attempted to commit a felony. And that is a much lower standard, and it's something that, for understandable reasons, there's so much to talk about in this case, but it could end up being one of the most important aspects of this case, because you don't have to show premeditation. All three counts, again, the second-degree murder, the third-degree murder, the second-degree manslaughter, they're all unintentional deaths, and obviously a much lower threshold for the prosecution. Not to say that they have an easy case, not to say that proving these elements beyond a reasonable doubt is ever a slam dunk, not to take anything away from the fact that often in these excessive force cases, we do see a successful defense, but just to say it is a much lower standard than premeditated murder.
And so when you get into third-degree murder, it's yet a lower standard, correct?
Right. In this case, I'm pausing because there's been some kind of discussion, really, frankly, about which one is more difficult to prove. But the typical view is that the second-degree murder would be more difficult to prove. That's the one that carries the maximum of the 40-year sentence. The third-degree murder, again, is about creating something called a depraved mind, where you put others in a situation where they're facing imminent danger and you're responsible for putting them in that situation. That would carry with it a lesser maximum sentence of 25 years, and then that second degree.
As you pointed out, was very big about was they wanted to make sure that this wasn't an anti-police case. They wanted to underline to any jurors out there that this isn't about punishing cops. This is about punishing.
Okay, the verdict still hasn't been called, but the verdict has been reached.
So, Mr. Crest said we should talk about work, but not here. So is there a room in the back or something? Cool, I'll get set up. So, Mr. Crest said you might be able to help me out with something. Well, not me, so that's clear. It's not me you're going to be helping. And I want it understood that I am not involved. Just a bystander doing a favor. And this is not an offer of employment so much as an opportunity. Well, anyway, that's getting a bit technical, but the point is, sometimes our fair and legal justice system makes mistakes. And this is one such time. Here he is, Professor Maxim Rashkovsky. You know the professor? Used to be head of research for the Army. 3 doctorates. Overconfident polymath, vain sociopath, tedious egomaniac, control freak, geneticist, weapons development, engineer, car nut, but definitely not a people person. Accused of espionage along with everything else? You don't remember? Well, lucky you. Exceedingly vain and self-absorbed man, brilliant at everything he does, yada yada yada, makes you want to puke. He's a goddamn traitor. I mean, he's a rat, but he pays. Incarcerated for a crime he did commit, but, well, let's just say money talks and he's going to walk. So, we got a few things to get ready, all pretty straightforward. Do them one at a time, but any way you like. Standard off for a gov-fat breakout. You know what I mean? Rad. All right, first thing's a plane. Then we got a bus. Then, well, 2 things. We got the inmate transfer schedule and Rashkovsky's car. More on that later. Let me show you. We need a plane to get the professor out of the country. It's currently being used to traffic drugs by transnational street gang Bus. We need a standard Bolingbrook transport vehicle. The least traffic is on the route from.
Hi there, welcome to Forward. Come on in.
That's where you're going to be able to get a hold of it.
I'm Dr.
Nate
Savini. I'm our medical lead here.
The inmate transit schedule is
And I
LSPD's
just
Mission Row
spoke with
Station.
a White House official who tells me that as we speak, preparations are underway for President Biden to speak once there is a verdict that will likely take place sometime this evening. What specifically will the president say? Well, of course, they have to wait until there is a verdict, but this official tells me that the president will call for peace regardless of the verdict. Now, we know that in the past weeks, the president, senior administration officials have been in touch with state and local officials in Minnesota. The governor there, we anticipate that the attorney general will play an active role in making sure that any protests are peaceful. There had even been some discussion of being ready to mobilize the National Guard should that be necessary. So they have been bracing for this moment for quite some time, Lester. And again, it does come on the heels of President Biden speaking to George Floyd's family, an emotional conversation by his own description of what took place. And then those really striking comments that he made in the Oval Office earlier today, saying that he is praying that the jury reaches the right verdict. he said, it's overwhelming. Now, those comments have come under a fair amount of scrutiny today, and I can tell you that in these past minutes, we've been speaking to allies inside and outside of the White House who acknowledge that they weren't the most helpful comments at this moment.
I don't see how those comments could go under scrutiny. Now, he didn't say nothing wrong that time. I'm sorry. I've been tripping off the president, some of the shit he says, like, oh my God, this old man, why did we put him here? But no, he didn't say nothing bad there. That's just somebody that's always against them.
A number of questions about this earlier today during the briefing, including for myself. I asked her if it is ever appropriate for a president to weigh in on a case of such magnitude before there is a verdict. And she said the bottom line is he was not trying to weigh in on the verdict itself. Instead, he was echoing the emotions that go along with this trial. So the White House is watching and waiting to see what will happen along with the rest of the world. And Lester, I can tell you that top officials are huddled in their offices as they try to prepare to respond. Lester.
All right, Kristen Welker, so we'll monitor that front as well. I want to go to NBC's Tremaine Lee. He's been closely following the trial. He's in the Greenwood neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a traditionally black neighborhood there. Tremaine, great to have you on. You're in a place obviously steeped in African-American history. I want to run this past you. And I'm sure you've been part of these conversations. There is a sense among activists, among communities of color, that this one should be an easy call. And I'm wondering if you see a risk in that assumption, thinking that this one will be different.
I don't think
Lester, you know what, folks in this community, especially, as you mentioned, there's such a deep history in this Greenwood community. They dealt with the 1921 race massacre. Then in 2016, Terrence Crutcher was shot and killed by a police officer. It was on video. There is currently a bill working its way through the state legislature that would make it illegal to film police. So this idea of a wariness to get their hopes up, even in the face of what so many people believe is evidence that is clear and just crystal clear, right? So to your point there, they don't want to get their hopes up because black folks in this country haven't really experienced true justice. And so in this case, one way or the other, as I was speaking to a lawyer activist in Ferguson on my way to Tulsa, and he said, no matter what, America is not on trial. American racism is not a trial. Police aren't even on trial. This is the trial of Derek Chauvin. And so after the verdict is read, whether it's a guilty verdict or a non-guilty verdict, if policing doesn't change in this country, especially the way black bodies and black communities are policed, what difference will it make? So that wariness, that anxiety, that kind of tightening of the gut that so many people are feeling all across this country, a place like Greenwood, these residents know it more than most, Lester.
Yeah, Jermaine, thank you for joining us. Please stand by as we continue to wait for the verdict to be announced. From Minneapolis, as we do that, we want to turn to criminal defense attorney and NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, we talked earlier about, I called it the speed of the verdict. I think you countered that, they sometimes go this quickly. But does it tend to favor one side or the other?
Take all the conventional wisdom and courthouse gossip you may have heard about quick verdicts and throw it right out the window, Lester, because when it's a high-profile case, all the rules get scrapped. Nothing is what it normally seems. And in a case like this where you already have complicated jury instructions for really complicated crimes, I mean, these are two forms of murder, which everybody grows up thinking murder is an intentional act, but in this case, it is a conceitedly unintentional killing for both second and third degree murder. So expect the jury to struggle a little with that, and that raises the question of, did they do one of two things? Did they walk into that jury room and say, I don't think the state made any of its case? Or did they walk into the jury room and say, I don't think the defense had it?
All right, I'll be checking back in a little bit. I know it's time to check the spinning wheel already. Should be. Yep, it's time.
Throwing a party in your penthouse? Speak with guest services and the evidence from last night's debauchery will be cleaned right away.
Oh, cute dress.
Taking the big city by storm.
Sorry to hear that. Don't know what the hell that got to do with me. What the hell happened? My whole team left? Probably. I see you, pirate. Damn, I wish they launched this shit. What is happening here? Hart wants to go with y'all too. He was trying to drink water. They coming, pirate. They coming to get you. They coming. Oh, where's the countdown? Yeah, this is stupid. Oh. Alright, this game is making me mad. I think I'm gonna take a damn nap. Oh, now that I say I want to take a nap, huh? Yep, I'm gonna take a nap. Get up and party some more. Happy 420, y'all. I'll be back later.